I came home early and heard my wife on the phone saying, "I need you inside me tonight. Tom's on overnight shift." Except I was standing in our foyer. The medical bag slipped from my hand, hit the hardwood floor with a crash that echoed through our house like a gunshot. The milk carton inside exploded. I watched white liquid spread across the oak boards Helen and I had refinished together 23 years ago. Her voice floated down from upstairs, intimate, breathy, a tone I hadn't heard directed at me in, God, how long? Years maybe. "I can't wait to feel you again. Tuesday night was incredible. The floorboard under my foot creaked. That same board that's creaked since we moved into this house when Emma was 2 years old. 22 years of stepping on that board. Helen's voice cut off mid-sentence. "Someone's here. I have to go." Footsteps running across our bedroom. The bedroom where we'd made love, where we'd held each other through my father's death, where I'd cried into her shoulder the night I lost my first patient. I climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. My legs felt disconnected from my body. That's shock, the doctor, part of my brain, noted clinically. Sympathetic nervous system activation, fight or flight response. I'm a family physician. I've spent 25 years in Millbrook, delivering babies, treating pneumonia, holding hands while people died. I've seen everything the human body can do, but I'd never felt my own body betray me like this. Heart hammering against ribs, mouth dry as cotton, hands shaking. "Helen?" She appeared at the top of the stairs. Phone clutched to her chest like a shield, mascara smudged. Her hair, that honey blonde hair I used to brush before bed, disheveled. She was wearing the silk robe I'd bought her for Christmas. Red. Christmas was 4 months ago. "Danny, I thought, how long have you been standing there?" "Danny?" She only called me Danny when she wanted something. "Long enough." My voice came out flat, distant, like I was talking to a patient's family member, delivering bad news in my hospital voice. "Who's Jay?" "What?" "You said, 'I can't wait to feel you again, Jay.' Who is Jay?" Her face did something I'd seen 1,000 times in my practice. The micro expression that flashes before someone commits to the lie. The calculation, the decision. That was just, "You're being paranoid, Tom. It was my sister. We were talking about, your sister's name is Caroline, not Jay." She gripped the phone tighter. I could see her knuckles whiten from where I stood, halfway up our staircase. Our wedding photo hung on the wall beside me. 26 years ago. She'd been 22. I'd been 25. We looked like children playing dress-up. "I need to get ready for book club," she said, turned away, dismissed me. I stood there on the stairs for a long time after she closed the bedroom door. The milk downstairs was seeping into the hardwood grooves. It would stain. I'd have to refinish that section. That's what I thought about. The stain, not the affair, not the voice. The stain. Because thinking about the stain was easier than thinking about everything else. The prescription bottle was orange plastic. Standard pharmacy issue. I found it the next morning in Helen's purse while looking for the car keys. My hands were steadier now. 18 hours of not sleeping gives you a strange clarity. The label made my breath stop. Whitmore, Helen M., Tramadol 50 mg, prescribed by Dr. J. Martinez. J. Martinez, Justin Martinez, our physical therapist at the hospital, 36 years old, hired 18 months ago. I'd welcome him to the team personally. Told him Millbrook Regional might be small, but we took care of our own. I turned the bottle over in my hands. The pills rattled with that distinctive pharmaceutical sound. The plastic had that antiseptic smell, hospitals and clinic waiting rooms and prescriptions. The label was slightly sticky from the adhesive. Hospital policy is explicit. Staff cannot prescribe to family members of other staff. It's a boundary issue, a conflict of interest. Justin knew this. I'd sat on the hiring committee that reviewed the ethics guidelines with him. But here it was. 8 refills. I checked the pharmacy information printed on the label. 8 refills in the past 12 months. Helen didn't have chronic back pain. She played tennis twice a week. She directed the high school spring play, which involved hours of standing. She hiked Mount Mansfield with her book club last summer. The pills rattled again as I set the bottle on the kitchen counter. Such a small sound, such enormous evidence. "You're here early." I turned. Betty Lou Carson stood in the doorway of the kitchen, 62 years old, head surgical nurse, worked at Millbrook Regional for 30 years. She'd been my right hand since I became medical director. "Couldn't sleep," I said. She looked at the prescription bottle, then at my face. Betty Lou had raised 4 kids. She could read people like some folks read books. "How long have you known?" I asked. She didn't pretend to misunderstand. "Suspected for about 6 months, knew for certain 3 weeks ago. Why didn't you say something? Would you have believed me?" She walked to the coffee pot, poured 2 mugs without asking, black for both of us. "Besides, I'm a nurse, Tom, not a marriage counselor. But since we're talking now," she pulled a manila folder from her bag, slid it across the counter. "You should see this." The folder contained Justin's employment file, reference letter from his previous position at a hospital in New Hampshire. I scanned the carefully neutral language. "Mr. Martinez demonstrated adequate technical proficiency," I read aloud. "He left our facility to pursue other opportunities." "That's HR speak for, we fired him, but paid him to go quietly," Betty Lou said. "I called an old nursing school friend who works up there, off the record." She took a sip of coffee. "Justin was terminated for having an affair with a married patient, a patient he was prescribing pain medication to." The coffee mug was warm in my hands. I focused on that warmth, the ceramic texture, the smell of dark roast. "He's done this before," I said, not a question. "He's got a pattern, Tom. Charm, flirtation. Then he targets married women who are vulnerable. Last time, the woman's husband was deployed military. This time," she stopped. "This time, I was the husband who was never home. The husband married to the hospital. The husband who delivered 600 babies but missed his own daughter's college graduation because a patient was in labor." "There's more," Betty Lou said. She pulled out another document, credit card statements. "Hospital policy requires senior staff to review department expenses. Physical therapy charged several conferences to the company card. Boston, February 14th weekend. February 14th. Valentine's Day weekend. Helen had told me she was going to a teaching conference. I'd been on call. I'd sent her a card, a Hallmark card with watercolor hearts. 26 years together, forever to go. Love always, Tom." I'd thought I was being romantic. "These charges are for a hotel room," Betty Lou continued. "The Marriott Long Wharf, room service at midnight, champagne." The prescription bottle rattled as I picked it up again. Orange plastic, 8 refills, Dr. J. Martinez. "In a small town," I said quietly, "everyone knows everything eventually." "Tom, how many people know, Betty Lou? How many people at the hospital?" She didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. "Some have noticed. The late-night parking garage entries, the way they look at each other during staff meetings. You know how it is in a town of 8,000 people." She touched my arm. "But nobody wanted to believe it. You're Doc Tom. You delivered half this town's babies. You sat with May Patterson when her husband was dying. You stayed up 3 days straight during that flu outbreak in 2018. You're the good guy, Tom." Good guys finish last, I thought. But I didn't say it. Betty Lou slid one more item across the counter, a folder with Justin's name on it. "You should see his reference letter from New Hampshire, the one HR didn't want you to know about." Emma found the journal behind the washing machine. She called me from the house, voice tight with something I couldn't identify over the phone. Not quite panic, not quite confusion. "Dad, can you come home? I found something." I'd been at the hospital reviewing surgery schedules, trying to focus on work, trying not to think about Helen, who'd moved into the guest room 2 nights ago after I'd confronted her with the prescription bottle. She'd claimed the tramadol was legitimate, that Justin was just being helpful, that I was paranoid and stressed, and maybe I should see someone about my mental health. Gaslighting. That's what Dr. Michael Rivera had called it yesterday when I'd confided in him. Michael, my best friend since med school, divorced himself 3 years ago. She's rewriting reality, Tom, making you doubt what you know is true. Don't let her. Emma was sitting on the front porch when I pulled into the driveway. 7 months pregnant, her belly round and prominent under her UVM sweatshirt. She'd moved back home 6 weeks ago when the baby's father, some graduate school classmate, had decided fatherhood wasn't for him. She held a small red book in her hands. "I was doing laundry," she said. Her voice had that careful quality she used when trying not to cry. "This fell out from behind the washing machine. I thought it was one of those journals you write in for therapy. Mom's been so stressed lately, I thought maybe—" She stopped, looked at me. "Dad," I started reading it. The journal was leather, red, about 4 by 6 inches. Moleskin brand. The kind Helen had always preferred for her personal writing. The leather smelled like her perfume, that floral scent she'd worn since I'd known her. French, expensive. Emma handed it to me. Her fingers were shaking. The pages made a soft whisper sound when I opened them. Purple gel pen, Helen's flowing handwriting. The ink had that faintly sweet smell gel pens have. The first entry was dated 13 months ago. March 10th. Started physical therapy today for my back. The new therapist, Jay, is young and enthusiastic. He has kind eyes. It felt nice to have someone actually listen to me for once. I flipped forward. The entries became more frequent, more intimate. April 3rd. Jay asked me to coffee after my session. We talked for 2 hours. He thinks I'm interesting. When was the last time Tom thought I was interesting? May 12th. I can't stop thinking about Jay. This is wrong. I know it's wrong. But when he touches me during therapy, I feel alive. Emma was watching me read. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly. Protective, instinctive. "There's an entry from December," she said quietly. "December 12th. Do you remember December 12th? I didn't. December was always busy. Holiday parties at the hospital, flu season. I worked a lot of overnight shifts in December. Emma took the journal from my hands, opened to a dog-eared page, read aloud, her voice breaking. December 12th. E called around 9 p.m. from the police station. Fender bender, she was shaken up. But Jay was here. We were in the middle of— I couldn't answer. Sent it to voicemail, called her back an hour later. She sounded hurt that I didn't pick up. Asked why I wasn't answering my phone at 9 on a Wednesday night. I told her I was at an emergency school meeting. She believed me. Worth it, though? Jay stayed until 2 a.m. Emma looked up from the journal, tears streaming down her face. 7 months pregnant, 24 years old. I called her crying from the police station, Dad. I was scared. The airbag deployed. I didn't know if I was hurt, if the baby was hurt. And she— Her voice broke completely. She was with him. She let me go to voicemail. I pulled her into my arms. She was shaking, sobbing, her pregnant belly pressed against me. I could feel the baby moving, my granddaughter. Due in 6 weeks. "I'm about to become a mother," Emma whispered against my shoulder. "And I just found out my mother chose a man over me when I needed her. How do I trust myself to be better than that? What if I'm like her?" Over Emma's shoulder, I could see the ultrasound photos pinned to our refrigerator. 4 thermal images. Emma's baby girl at 28 weeks. Fuzzy, grainy pictures that looked like messages from another world. Emma had been so excited showing them to us. Helen had barely glanced at them, distracted by her phone. Now I knew why. If you've ever been pregnant and felt completely alone, whether from a breakup, a betrayal, or just life falling apart at the worst possible time, just type "here" in the comments. Emma needed to know she wasn't the only one, and neither are you. I held my daughter while she cried. The red journal sat on the porch railing. The late afternoon sun made the leather almost glow. Inside those pages was a complete record. 13 months of affair, detailed, documented, in Helen's own handwriting, evidence that would destroy us, evidence I couldn't unknow. Annie Chen showed up 20 minutes later. Emma's best friend since kindergarten, training to be a doula. She took one look at Emma's face and wrapped her in a fierce hug. "What happened?" "My mom's having an affair," Emma said, flat, factual. "With the physical therapist from Dad's hospital, for over a year. She chose being with him over answering my emergency call when I was in a car accident." Annie's face went through several expressions: shock, anger, protective fury. She turned to me. "What are you going to do?" Good question. In a town of 8,200 people, everyone would know within days. Helen taught at the high school. I was medical director at the hospital. We went to the Congregational Church every Sunday. We were on the board of the Rotary Club. Helen had just published a book. Well, no. Helen co-chaired the Literacy Foundation. Everyone knew us. The Whitmore family, pillars of the community, the doctor and the teacher, the perfect small-town couple. Except we weren't. I'm going to talk to her, I said. The hotel receipt was thermal paper, white, about 3 inches wide and 8 inches long. I'd found it in Helen's coat pocket while looking for the car keys that morning. She'd left the coat at home when she moved to her sister's place in Burlington. February 2024, Marriott Long Wharf, Boston. 2 nights, itemized charges, room service, 84 DFD, 11 to 47 p.m. Room service, 6730, 12:15. AM minibar, $45 bottle service. Dom Perignon, 220 hours. The thermal paper had that slick, waxy texture, that distinctive smell. It curled at the edges. Some of the numbers were already starting to fade, but they were still readable. I'd texted Helen while she was in Boston that weekend. Miss you. Hope the conference is good. Love you. She'd texted back. Long day of sessions, heading to bed early. Love you too. At 11:47 p.m., she'd been ordering room service for 2. I spread the receipt on the kitchen table next to the prescription bottle, next to the journal, next to another piece of evidence Betty Lou had given me, a blue plastic parking pass. Hospital staff parking. Number 17. Justin's assigned spot. Helen had it in her car, in the cup holder where she kept her coffee. Security gate logs showed her car entering the parking garage using Justin's pass on 6 different nights in the past 2 months. All nights I'd worked late or been on call. She'd had access to his pass, his keys, his apartment probably. Level of intimacy that made my stomach turn. Helen came home that afternoon to get more clothes. She walked into the kitchen and stopped when she saw me at the table, saw the evidence spread out like an autopsy. We need to talk, I said. She stared at the hotel receipt, the prescription bottle, the parking pass, then at me. Tom, I can explain. Explain what? The prescription you shouldn't have? The hotel receipt from a conference that didn't exist? The parking pass? Which one would you like to explain first? Her jaw tightened. I'd seen that expression before, usually when Emma had called her out on something as a teenager, defensive, preparing for battle. You went through my things. I found these. There's a difference. You had no right. I had every right. My voice rose, bounced off the kitchen walls. You're my wife, Helen. You took vows. 26 years ago, you stood in front of 300 people and promised. You were never here. She slammed her hand on the table. The prescription bottle jumped, rattled. You were always at the hospital, Tom. Always. Do you know how many dinners I ate alone? How many plays and book clubs and parent-teacher conferences I went to by myself? I was married to a ghost. So you slept with my employee? He made me feel alive. Her voice dropped, went soft, almost wistful. He listened to me. He thought I was interesting. He made me feel young and desirable again. Do you know when the last time you looked at me was? Actually looked at me? Saw me? My hands were shaking. I gripped the edge of the table. How long? What? How long has this been going on? She looked away. Out the window, at the garden we'd planted together. The raised beds where we grew tomatoes every summer. 13 months. 13 months. Over a year. While I'd been delivering babies, treating patients, sitting on hospital boards, coming home exhausted and falling into bed beside her, trusting her. I want a divorce, I said. Fine. She grabbed her purse, started throwing things into it, makeup, her phone charger, the book she'd been reading. But you will not destroy our daughter's pregnancy with this drama. Emma has 6 weeks until her due date. She's already stressed about being a single mother. You will wait until after the baby is born to file anything, for Emma's sake. For Emma's sake, I stood up. You chose your affair over Emma. The night of her car accident, her face went white. How do you know about that? She found your journal, read it. She knows everything, Helen. You had no right to... She found it, behind the washing machine, and she read about how you ignored her emergency call because Justin was there. How you let your pregnant daughter sit in a police station scared and alone because you were too busy. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. We both froze. That same creaky board, the one that had announced my arrival 2 days ago. The one that had creaked under my feet for 22 years. Helen's voice turned cold, calculated. You will not tell her details. You will not upset her more. She's pregnant, Tom. Stress is dangerous for the baby. You're a doctor. You know this. So you will keep your mouth shut until after she gives birth. And then I heard everything. We both turned. Emma stood at the top of the stairs, the red journal in one hand, the ultrasound photos in the other. 7 months pregnant in sweatpants and one of my old medical school t-shirts. Her face was blotchy from crying, but her voice was steady. I heard everything, Mom. The ER was busy for a Tuesday night. Chest pain in Bay 3, possible appendicitis in Bay 1, and in Bay 4, a kid with a skateboard injury that probably needed stitches. Justin Martinez was treating the appendicitis patient. Physical therapy consult for post-op mobility planning. He stood 20 feet away from me, wearing navy scrubs and that easy smile he gave everyone. Charming, approachable, the kind of smile that made patients trust him. I'd hired him 18 months ago, sat across from him in my office and told him we were lucky to have someone with his energy. That Millbrook Regional might be small, but we took care of our own. He'd shaken my hand, looked me right in the eye, thanked me for the opportunity. Now he was sleeping with my wife. Tom, Dr. Michael Rivera touched my elbow. You okay? Michael was working the ER shift with me, 44 years old, emergency medicine, my best friend since we'd roomed together at Columbia. He knew about Helen. I'd told him everything yesterday over coffee at his place. I'm fine. You're staring at Martinez like you want to put him through the CT scanner. I turned back to my chart. 78-year-old with chest pain. EKG showed nothing alarming, probably anxiety or indigestion, but at 78, you check everything. Did you bring what I asked? I said quietly. Michael pulled a folded document from his pocket. Security access logs, hospital staff badge swipes. He'd pulled them from the system this morning, using his administrative credentials. The printout was warm from his pocket. Standard white printer paper, that fresh toner smell, columns of data, employee ID numbers, timestamps in military format, dates going back 3 months. I scanned down to Helen's employee ID, then Justin's. February 3rd, Helen badge swipe, 2247. Justin badge swipe, 2251, both at parking garage entrance. February 3rd, Helen badge swipe, 0133. Justin badge swipe, 0135, both at parking garage exit, over 3.5 hours, while I'd been here in this same ER treating a cardiac emergency. The pattern repeated. Every time I'd worked a late shift or been on call overnight, Helen and Justin, entering and exiting within minutes of each other, sometimes to the physical therapy wing, sometimes to the empty administrative offices on the 4th floor. There's dozens of these, Michael said quietly. Going back 14 months. 14 months, longer than the journal entries, longer than Helen had admitted. Dr. Whitmore? A nurse poked her head around the corner. Mrs. Patterson in Bay 3 needs you. I folded the security logs, slipped them into my coat pocket, took a breath. This was my job, my calling. I'd taken an oath, first, do no harm. That included treating patients professionally, even when my personal life was imploding. May Patterson was 83, chest pain radiating to her left arm. Her husband had died 2 years ago. I'd sat with them both in their living room the night he'd passed, held May's hand while hospice made him comfortable. Doc Tom, she said when I walked in. Relief flooded her face. I'm so glad it's you. 20 minutes later, after running tests and determining it was severe heartburn, not a heart attack, I walked back to the nurse's station. Justin was there, leaning against the counter, laughing with one of the younger nurses. He saw me and his smile faltered. Just for a second. Then he recovered. Dr. Whitmore, good to see you. I stared at him. This man had been in my house, in my bed probably, had touched my wife, had written her prescriptions he shouldn't have written, had convinced her that what they were doing was somehow justified. Michael materialized beside me, protective, ready to intervene if I did something stupid. Justin shifted his weight. I've been meaning to talk to you about... Don't. My voice came out low, controlled. Don't say anything to me unless it's about patient care. Helen told me about your instability lately, Tom. His voice dripped false concern. Your stress levels, the paranoia. I'm worried about you, man. Maybe you should talk to someone. Take some time off. Instability, paranoia, they'd coordinated their story. Made me the problem. Michael's jaw tightened. Martinez, you need to be somewhere else right now." Justin held up his hands, innocent, reasonable, just trying to help. "We're all concerned about Dr. Whitmore's mental state. Patient safety has to come first, right?" He walked away, that confident stride, not a care in the world. "I'm going to hit him," Michael said. "I'm going to professionally, ethically, and completely legally hit him." "Not worth it. He's gaslighting you in front of staff, building a narrative that you're unstable, so when this comes out, you look crazy and he looks concerned." I pulled out the security logs again, stared at the timestamps. February 3rd, the night Emma had her car accident. Helen entry 2247, exit 0133. 3.5 hours while our daughter sat scared in a police station. Betty Lou appeared from around the corner. She'd been watching. She handed me something, a file folder. "This came from New Hampshire," she said quietly. "The real story, the one HR didn't tell you." My mother's house smelled like lavender and old books. She'd lived in Millbrook for 40 years, since she'd followed my father here when he'd taken over the town's medical practice. Dad had died 8 years ago. Heart attack at his desk. He'd been 59. Mom, Margaret Whitmore, though everyone called her Marge, was 76 and sharp as ever. She answered the door before I could knock. "Emma called me," she said. "Come in." Emma was sitting at the kitchen table, the red journal open in front of her. She'd been reading more entries. Her eyes were red-rimmed, puffy. Mom poured me coffee without asking. We sat, the three of us around the same oak table where I'd done my homework as a kid, where Emma had learned to read. "Show him," Mom said to Emma, gentle but firm. Emma turned the journal to December 12th, the entry I'd heard her read on the porch. But there was more. She pointed to a passage further down the page. I read silently. A finally stopped calling around 10:30. Left 2 voicemails. I could hear in her voice she'd been crying. Something about the airbag deploying and not knowing if she or the baby were hurt. But Jay's hands were on me, and I couldn't think about anything else. Called her back at 11:15, told her I'd been in an emergency faculty meeting, phone on silent. She believed me. She always believes me. Made me feel guilty for about 5 minutes. Then Jay kissed me, and I forgot about it. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "I believed her, Dad." I sat in that police station for an hour and a half, thinking my mom was in some important meeting, thinking I was bothering her, apologizing when she finally called back. My mother's hand covered mine on the table, weathered, spotted with age, but steady. "Thomas," she said, used my full name. That meant serious. "What are you gonna do?" I confronted Helen. She wants me to wait until after Emma's baby is born to do anything. Says the stress is dangerous. "Is it?" Emma asked. "Is stress dangerous for the baby?" I chose my words carefully. "Stress isn't ideal during pregnancy, but lying to you, hiding this from you, letting you find out through a journal, that's worse. You deserve the truth, even when it's painful." Emma's hand went to her belly. 7 months, almost 30 weeks. Her daughter was due April 15th, 6 weeks away. "I don't want to stress you," I said, "but I won't lie to you either. I'm already stressed, Dad." She turned another page in the journal. Reading these entries, knowing Mom wrote these things while I was living in this house, planning to move home with the baby. It's like I don't know her, like I never knew her. Mom stood up, walked to her desk, came back with something, the town newspaper, the Millbrook Gazette, weekly publication, circulation about 3,500. "This came out Friday," she said. She opened to the community events page. There was a photo from the hospital's annual charity auction planning meeting. 12 people standing in front of the hospital entrance. Helen and Justin were in the photo, standing close. His hand on her shoulder, her leaning slightly toward him. Body language that, once you knew, was obvious. The caption read, "Charity auction volunteers coordinate final details." Pictured, Martinez and Whitmore among planning committee. "Everyone in town gets this paper," Mom said. "Everyone saw this photo." I stared at it. Helen's smile, Justin's hand. The hospital where I'd worked for 19 years, where I'd built my reputation, where people trusted me. "In a small town, everyone knows," I said, "or they will soon." Emma took the newspaper, studied the photo. "The auction is this Saturday, March 15th. Are you still going?" "I'm co-chair. I have to. Mom's co-chair, too. I know. Emma closed the journal, pushed it away like it was contaminated. I don't want to see her right now. Is that terrible? She's my mom and I don't want to see her. It's not terrible, I said. It's honest. My mother squeezed my hand. First, do no harm, Thomas. Remember? That includes to yourself. And to Emma. I looked at the medical school oath certificate hanging in Mom's hallway. She'd had it reframed after Dad died, hung it in her house as a memorial. First, do no harm, I repeated, but I'd been doing harm. To myself. To Emma. By trying to protect Helen's image, by considering waiting until after the baby was born to act, by prioritizing everyone else's comfort over truth. No more. The charity auction was held at the VFW hall. White tablecloths, donated items on tables along the walls, silent auction bid sheets, a small stage for the live auction portion. 237 people attended. I know, because I counted. I stood at the entrance greeting people as they arrived, smile fixed in place, co-chair duties. Helen was supposed to be greeting people with me. She'd texted at 4 p.m. saying she wasn't coming. Migraine. Betty Lou appeared at my elbow. Want me to punch her? No. Want me to tell people she abandoned her co-chair responsibilities? Also no. People filed past, the Pattersons, the Hendersons, my Rotary Club colleagues, church members, hospital staff, teachers from Helen's school, people I'd known for decades. Mrs. Patterson touched my arm, 83 years old. I delivered her granddaughter, treated her heartburn just 2 days ago. Doc Tom, she said quietly, is it true about Helen and that physical therapist from the hospital? My smile felt like it was cracking my face. Because Mabel Henderson saw them at that Italian restaurant in Burlington last month, said they were holding hands. Behind her, 24 faces turned to listen, curious, concerned, pitying. I'd delivered half of these people's babies, sat with them during diagnoses, held their hands while family members died. I'd been their doctor, their neighbor, their friend for a quarter century. Now, I was poor Doc Tom. Betty Lou stepped forward, voice carrying. Tom's here to support his community, like he's always done. Anyone with questions can talk to me. The crowd shifted, uncomfortable. People moved toward the auction tables, but the whispers followed me all night. Did you hear? With that young physical therapist, always seemed like such a nice couple. Poor Tom, working all those nights while Pastor David Fletcher found me near the refreshment table, 58 years old. He'd married Helen and me 26 years ago, baptized Emma, presided over my father's funeral. Tom, he gripped my shoulder. I heard. I'm so sorry. News travels fast. It's Millbrook, population 8,200. A sneeze on Main Street is breaking news by dinner time. He lowered his voice. Have you two talked about counseling? She moved out, David. Marriage is a sacred covenant. She had an affair for over a year with an employee from my hospital. She ignored our pregnant daughter's emergency call to be with him. My voice was rising. People were looking. I forced it down. I'm not interested in counseling right now. David's face crumpled. He'd believed in us, in our marriage, in the image we'd projected. I'm here if you need me, he said, for counseling, for prayer, for anything. The auction ended at 9. I stayed to help clean up. Anything to avoid going home to an empty house, to avoid seeing Emma's worried face, to avoid thinking. Betty Lou drove me home. We sat in her car outside my house for a long moment. You held up well, she said. I wanted to run. But you didn't. That's what matters. I looked at my house. Lights on in Emma's room. My mother's car in the driveway. She'd stayed with Emma tonight. The house Helen and I had bought 22 years ago. In a small town, everyone knows everything eventually, I said. I thought that was a threat, a warning, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's... My phone buzzed. Emma. Dad, come home, now. Something's wrong. In a small town of 8,000 people, everyone knows everything eventually. If you were me, would you face the truth head on and risk your daughter's stress during pregnancy? Type truth. Or protect your family's privacy and wait until after the baby's born. Type wait. What would you do? I'll tell you what I chose. But I want to know what you'd choose first. Emma was on the couch, gripping her belly, her face pale, breathing in short gasps. "Contractions," she said, "started an hour ago. She winced, gasped. "They're getting worse." My mother had a hand on Emma's wrist, taking her pulse the old-fashioned way. "Every 7 minutes. Been consistent for the past 30. I checked my watch. "We need to get you to the hospital." "It's too early, Dad. I'm only 30 weeks. The baby will be fine, but we need to monitor you. This could be Braxton Hicks, but we can't risk it." The drive to Millbrook Regional took 9 minutes, felt like 9 hours. Emma in the back seat, my mother beside her, me gripping the steering wheel, counting the seconds between contractions. 7 minutes, 6.5, 6. They were getting closer. Dr. Rivera met us at the ER entrance. He'd called ahead, had a wheelchair ready. Within 5 minutes, Emma was in a room, on a monitor, with an IV line started. The ultrasound photos she'd been carrying were clutched in her hand, crumpled now. Those 4 thermal images. 28 weeks. Baby girl, tiny nose, tiny chin. "Emma," Michael's voice was gentle, "I need you to try to relax. Stress can trigger early labor. Whatever's going on, we'll handle it. But right now, I need you calm." "I can't." Tears streamed down her face. "My mom lied to me, my whole life. And now my baby, what if I'm like her? What if I—" Another contraction. The monitor spiked, beeped, too fast. I took her hand. "Emma, look at me. You are nothing like your mother." "How do you know?" "Because you're here. Because you came home when you needed help. Because you're scared, and you're telling me instead of hiding it. Because you're asking the hard questions." I squeezed her hand. "Your mother never did any of those things." The monitor beeped again. Emma's blood pressure climbing. Michael caught my eye. All-mouthed, "We need to slow this down." "Emma, honey," I kept my voice level, doctor voice. "Calm. I need you to breathe with me. Slow. In through your nose, out through your mouth." "Dad, I'm scared." "I know. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." I looked at the ultrasound photos in her hand. "That's your daughter, Lily Grace. She needs you calm. She needs you strong. Can you do that for her?" Emma nodded, tried to breathe. The contractions slowed. Slightly. Michael checked her cervix, shook his head. "No dilation. This is Braxton Hicks, false labor. But Emma, your stress levels are through the roof. That's what triggered this." "So it's my fault." "No." Michael's voice was firm. "It's not your fault, but we need to manage your stress, for the baby's sake." Emma looked at me, exhausted, scared. "Dad, promise me. Promise me my baby will never see adults lie like Mom did to us. Promise we build something true." I was crying. Didn't realize it until I felt tears on my face. "I promise, sweetheart. Lily Grace gets truth from day one. No pretty lies." My mother appeared with warm blankets, tucked them around Emma, stroked her hair like she'd done when Emma was little. "You're going to be okay," Mom said. "Both of you. The Whitmore women are stronger than we look." Emma fell asleep an hour later, exhausted. The contractions stopped. False alarm. But real consequences. Michael pulled me into the hallway. "Tom, you can't wait until after the baby is born to deal with this. The secret is killing Emma. The stress is dangerous." Some of you said wait, some said truth. I understand both. But when Emma's monitor started beeping too fast, I didn't finish, didn't need to. The truth was dangerous. But lies were killing us. Pastor David's office smelled like coffee and old hymnals. He'd called me Monday morning, asked if Helen and I would meet with him. Counseling, mediation, a chance to work through this before you make any permanent decisions. Helen showed up 20 minutes late, sat as far from me as the small office allowed. David folded his hands on his desk. "Thank you both for coming. I know this is difficult. Tom's being unreasonable," Helen said. Jumped right in, no preamble. "He wants to throw away 26 years over one mistake. Over a moment of weakness." 13 months, I said. "Not a moment, 13 months. You were never home? So it's my fault. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying there were reasons." "Stop." David held up a hand. "This isn't productive. Helen, Tom, I married you 26 years ago. I've watched you build a life together, a daughter, a home, a place in this community. Marriage is a sacred covenant. What God has joined together, God didn't sleep with my physical therapist, I said. Helen did. Helen's face flushed. If you would just forgive quietly, we could move past this. For Emma's sake. The baby's due in 5 weeks. If you would just let it go until after she gives birth, then we can let it go? My voice cracked. Emma had false labor on Saturday because of the stress. The stress of finding out her mother lied to her, chose a man over her emergency. Do you understand that? Your secrecy almost triggered premature labor. Helen looked away, out David's office window, at the church parking lot. I didn't mean for Emma to find out. That's not the same as being sorry. David reached into his desk, pulled out an envelope, set it between us. What's that? Helen asked. A card, I said quietly. I sent it to you on Valentine's Day, February 14th. David opened the envelope, pulled out the Hallmark card, read aloud, 26 years together, forever to go. Love always, Tom. Helen's face went white. I found this in your desk drawer, I continued. You never opened it, never read it. On Valentine's Day, I was working a double shift. You texted me saying you were having a quiet night at home, grading papers. I pulled out my phone, showed David the phone records Michael had pulled from the hospital system. February 14th, 37 text messages between Helen and Justin. You spent Valentine's Day texting him, I said, while my card sat unopened. David looked at the card, at Helen. His face fell. Helen, he said gently, are you sorry for the affair, for the pain you've caused? She didn't answer right away, sat there, staring at the Valentine's card. Finally, I'm sorry Tom is hurt, but I'm not sorry for feeling alive, for feeling seen, for... I stood up. David, I appreciate you trying, but Helen's not sorry. She's just sorry she got caught. Helen stood too. If Tom would just forgive quietly, we could move past this, for Emma's sake. David's voice was soft, sad. Helen, that's not how forgiveness works. She grabbed her purse, walked out. The door clicked shut behind her. I sat back down, stared at the Valentine's card on David's desk, that watercolor heart, my handwriting. David sighed, 40 years of pastoral counseling in that sound. Tom, I'm sorry. I hoped. Me too. What will you do? I looked at the medical oath certificate hanging on David's wall. He had one too, honorary, given to him when the hospital had named a chapel after him. First, do no harm, I read aloud. I took that oath 27 years ago. I thought it meant don't hurt patients. But it means more than that. It means don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt your daughter. Don't enable lies. I looked at David. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm reporting Justin to the medical licensing board. That's a big step. It's the right step. Betty Lou's friend from New Hampshire called Tuesday afternoon. Spoke to me directly this time, not off the record. On speakerphone in Betty Lou's office with hospital HR director Jennifer Cross present. The voice was female, tired, professional. Dr. Whitmore, my name is Catherine Mills. I was the nursing director at Portsmouth Regional when Justin Martinez worked here. I'm calling because Betty Lou mentioned your situation, and I feel I have a duty to warn you. Warn me? Martinez was terminated from Portsmouth Regional 18 months ago. The official record says pursued other opportunities. The truth is we fired him and paid him severance to sign an NDA. We were wrong to do that. I've regretted it ever since. Jennifer Cross leaned forward. What did he do? He had an affair with a patient, a married patient. While treating her for chronic pain, he prescribed her increasingly high doses of tramadol. When her husband discovered the affair and confronted Martinez, Justin claimed the patient had pursued him, that she was addicted and he was trying to help, that he was the victim. My hands clenched. And the patient ended up in rehab for opioid addiction. The husband filed for divorce. Their 2 children were devastated. We launched an investigation and found this wasn't the first time. Martinez had a pattern. He targeted married women, usually women whose husbands worked long hours. He'd create dependency through prescription medication, then escalate to physical relationship. Why didn't you report him to the medical licensing board? Catherine's voice turned bitter. Administration was afraid of the lawsuit, the publicity. So they paid him to leave quietly, gave him a neutral reference, let him be someone else's problem. A pause. I'm sorry, Dr. Whitmore. If we'd done the right thing then, He wouldn't be your problem now. After she hung up, the three of us sat in silence. Finally, Jennifer spoke. We need to terminate him, immediately, and file with the state medical board. Will the board act? I asked. With Portsmouth's records and our evidence, the prescription patterns, the violation of hospital fraternization policy, yes. They'll suspend his license pending investigation. And once one state suspends, others follow. He won't practice physical therapy anywhere. Betty Lou pulled out another folder. Security camera footage logs. We also have him on camera accessing the parking garage with your wife during your night shifts. And, she hesitated, there's financial irregularities, small charges to the physical therapy department credit card, hotels, restaurants. He's been using hospital funds for personal expenses. Embezzlement, Jennifer said. On top of everything else. I looked at the files, the evidence, the pattern. Justin wasn't a man who'd fallen in love. He was a predator, systematic, calculating. Helen wasn't special. She was just available. File everything, I said. Report him. Terminate him. Whatever needs to happen. Tom, Betty Lou touched my arm. Are you sure? Once this starts, it's public. The hospital board will have to vote. The board meets Thursday. Everyone will know. Everyone already knows, Betty Lou. Half the town saw that photo in the Gazette. The other half heard about it at the charity auction. I stood up. In a small town, everyone knows everything eventually. I can't control that. But I can control whether we do the right thing, whether we protect the next woman, the next family. Jennifer nodded. I'll prepare the termination paperwork and the medical board complaint. As I walked out of Betty Lou's office, my phone buzzed. My mother. Emma's asking for you, and she wants to know what you're going to do about Helen and Justin. She says she needs to hear the truth from you, all of it. I looked at the security logs in my hand, at Catherine Mills's phone number, at the medical oath certificate visible through Jennifer's office door. First, do no harm. That meant telling Emma the truth, even when it hurt, especially when it hurt. Because the alternative, the lies, the secrets, the pretending, that was causing the real harm. The divorce papers were heavy, not physically, standard legal paper, maybe 20 sheets stapled together, but heavy in what they represented. 26 years reduced to checkboxes and legal language. Petitioner, Thomas Andrew Whitmore. Respondent, Helen Marie Whitmore. Grounds, adultery. Vermont is a no-fault divorce state. I could have just filed for irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. But the truth mattered. The record mattered. I signed on page 17. My signature looked shaky. Old. Like my father's signature had looked the year before he died. My attorney, Robert Chen's brother-in-law, slid another document across his desk. Medical Board Complaint Form. State of Vermont Board of Allied Health Professionals. This will end his career, the attorney said. You understand that? Once you file this, once the investigation starts, Justin Martinez will never practice physical therapy in any state. The licensing boards share information. One suspension triggers reviews everywhere. Good. Dr. Whitmore, Tom, I need to make sure you're certain. Helen will know you filed this. She may fight back, claim harassment, retaliation. I thought about Catherine Mills's voice on the phone, the patient in Portsmouth who'd ended up in rehab, the two children devastated by their parents' divorce, the pattern Justin had followed, would follow again if no one stopped him. File everything, I said. The divorce, the medical board complaint. I want it on record. The hospital board meeting was Thursday at 4 p.m. 15 board members in the conference room. I sat across from Justin. He wore a suit, looked nervous but composed. His attorney beside him. Jennifer Cross presented the evidence, security logs. Prescription record showing 8 refills of tramadol to a staff member's family member. Violation of hospital policy. Credit card charges for hotels and restaurants. Misuse of hospital funds totaling $4,700. Reference letter from Portsmouth Regional decoded to show termination for similar behavior. The board chair, Victoria Hayes, was a 48-year-old investor, cold, pragmatic. She'd funded the hospital's expansion 3 years ago. Dr. Whitmore, she said, you understand this is a personal situation intersecting with professional obligations. I understand that Mr. Martinez violated hospital ethics policies, that he prescribed controlled substances inappropriately, that he misused hospital funds, that he has a documented pattern of this behavior from his previous employment. I kept my voice level, clinical. My personal situation is separate from these professional violations. Your personal situation makes you biased. My personal situation makes me aware. If I hadn't been personally affected, these violations would have continued. I looked at Justin. He wouldn't meet my eyes. How many other married women has he targeted here? How many other prescriptions has he written inappropriately? How many other families will be destroyed if we do nothing? Silence. Victoria glanced at the other board members. We need to vote, all in favor of terminating Justin Martinez's employment effective immediately. 14 hands went up. Justin's went down. Mr. Martinez, Victoria said, you're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the premises. You have 24 hours to retrieve personal items from your workspace under supervision. Justin stood. His attorney whispered something. Justin shook his head, looked at me. This is all your fault, he said, voice shaking. Helen and I, we were in love. You drove her to me. You were never there for her. And now you're destroying my career because you can't handle... You're a predator, I said quietly. You did this at your last hospital. You targeted a married patient, prescribed her medication to create dependency. When her family discovered the affair, you claimed she pursued you, that you were the victim. I stood up, walked to the window. My medical oath certificate hung on the wall of the conference room. Hospital policy, every senior staff member's oath displayed. First, do no harm. I took that oath 27 years ago. It means I don't enable predators, even when, especially when, they target my family. Justin's face went white. He knew. Knew we'd talked to Portsmouth Regional, knew the pattern was documented. The medical board will be reviewing your license, Victoria said. I suggest you retain legal counsel. This meeting is adjourned. Security escorted Justin out. He walked past me without looking, shoulders hunched, that confident stride gone. Betty Lou appeared at my elbow. You okay? No, but I'm doing the right thing. She squeezed my hand. The Whitmore men always do. I wrote the letter by hand, on the back porch. Wednesday evening, Emma was inside with my mother, preparing dinner. The smell of roast chicken drifted through the screen door. The paper was standard notebook paper, blue lines. My handwriting looked like my father's, the same slight right slant, the same way the G looped. I started 4 times. Crumpled 3 drafts. The 4th one began, Dear friends and neighbors, by now, many of you have heard rumors about my family. Some of these rumors are true. Some are exaggerated. I'm writing to set the record straight, not to defend myself, but to ask for your understanding and privacy during a difficult time. My wife Helen and I are divorcing after 26 years of marriage. The reasons are personal and painful. Helen had an affair with a staff member from the hospital. This affair lasted over a year. I'm not writing to shame Helen or to seek sympathy. I'm writing because, in a small town like Millbrook, secrets don't stay secret, and I've learned that honesty, even painful honesty, is better than whispers and rumors. My daughter Emma is 7 months pregnant and due in 5 weeks. She is my priority. She needs peace and stability as she prepares to bring new life into this world. I'm asking you, my friends, my neighbors, my patients, to give our family privacy and grace during this time. I've spent 25 years serving this community as your doctor. I've delivered your babies, treated your illnesses, sat with you during your darkest hours. I hope I've earned enough goodwill that you'll extend kindness to my daughter, who has done nothing wrong and deserves to welcome her baby without scandal. The truth will set you free. I've preached that saying without understanding its cost. Truth demands everything. But slavery to lies costs even more. Thank you for your understanding. Thomas Whitmore, M.D. I folded the letter, put it in an envelope, drove to the church. Pastor David was in his office, reading. He looked up when I knocked. Tom, I handed him the envelope. I'd like you to read this at Sunday service, to the congregation. I'll be there. Emma will be there. But I'd like you to read it. He opened the envelope, read silently. His face went through several expressions. Surprise, sadness, understanding. This is brave, Tom. It's necessary. The gossip is hurting Emma. If I control the narrative, if I tell the truth plainly, maybe people will give us space. Some won't. Some will judge. Some will, I know. But I can't control other people. I can only control my own integrity. David folded the letter carefully. I'll read it Sunday, exactly as you wrote it. Sunday morning. The congregational church was full, 300 people. Emma sat beside me, my mother on Emma's other side, Emma's friend Annie behind us. Helen wasn't there. She'd moved to Burlington permanently, living with her sister. Pastor David stood at the pulpit, unfolded my letter. His voice was steady, clear. He read every word. The congregation was silent. I could hear the heating system, someone's watch beeping, a child whispering to their mother. When David finished, he folded the letter, looked out at the congregation. Tom Whitmore has been part of this community for 25 years. He's delivered many of your children, treated your families, been there in your darkest moments. Now he's in his darkest moment. I'm asking you, commanding you to respond with grace, with kindness, with the love Christ would show. After the service, people approached, not everyone. Some avoided eye contact, slipped out side doors, but many came. Mrs. Patterson hugged me. We're praying for you, Doc Tom, and for Emma and that baby. The Hendersons shook my hand. Anything you need, anything at all. A younger couple, I delivered their twins 2 years ago, approached Emma. We're organizing a meal train for after the baby comes, so you don't have to worry about cooking. Emma started crying, happy tears, overwhelmed tears. My mother pulled me aside. Your father would be proud, not of the divorce, but of how you're handling it, with truth, with dignity. The letter appeared in the Town Gazette the next week. Not the full text. They called and asked permission first, just excerpts. And an editorial. In small towns, we know each other's business. Sometimes that feels invasive, but it also means we take care of our own. Dr. Whitmore has taken care of Millbrook for a quarter century. Now it's our turn to take care of him and his family. Justin left town Friday morning. Betty Lou called me at 6 a.m. He cleaned out his apartment last night, loaded a U-Haul, didn't tell anyone where he's going. Did he leave a forwarding address? Just said, somewhere I won't be crucified for falling in love. I let that sit. Falling in love. That's what he called it. Systematic predation, prescription medication manipulation, violation of professional ethics, embezzlement. But in his mind, he'd fallen in love. The medical board suspended his license pending investigation, Betty Lou continued, effective immediately, and Vermont shared the complaint with the national database. Every state will review his license now. Helen called me that afternoon, first time we'd spoken since the pastor's mediation. You got him fired. He got himself fired. Oh, you reported him to the medical board. His career is over, Tom. Over. Because you couldn't. He had an affair with a patient at his last hospital, prescribed her opioids, created dependency, did the same thing to you, tramadol, 8 refills. You didn't have chronic pain, Helen. He was controlling you through medication. Silence on the line. You didn't know that, did you? I said quietly. About Portsmouth, about the pattern. You thought you were special, that what you had was real love. It was real. He's done this before. He'll do it again. Unless someone stops him, I stopped him. She hung up. 2 days later, the school board accepted Helen's resignation. Effective end of the school year. Personal reasons. But everyone knew. The spring play was canceled. The drama students were devastated. I felt bad for the students, not for Helen. The Town Gazette ran a story the following week. Hospital implements. Stricter ethics policies following staff termination. It didn't name Justin. Didn't need to. Everyone knew. Victoria Hayes called me. The board wants to thank you, Tom. This could have been a lawsuit, patient harm, criminal charges. You handled it by the book. I handled it because it was right. Well, right or not, you saved the hospital a lot of trouble. I didn't tell her that the hospital wasn't what I'd been trying to save. April 18th, 2:47 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emma. Dad, my water broke. I was at her apartment in 6 minutes. She was in the living room, overnight bag already packed. Annie was with her, timing contractions on her phone. 4 minutes apart, Annie said. We need to go. The drive to Millbrook Regional was silent except for Emma's breathing, controlled, focused. Annie had taught her Lamaze techniques. Emma was using them. At the hospital, Michael Rivera met us at the entrance. He'd called ahead, had a room ready. Within 10 minutes, Emma was in a gown, on monitors, IV started. "You're at 6 centimeters, Michael said after checking. "This baby's coming tonight, or this morning, I should say." Emma gripped my hand. "Dad, I'm scared." "I know, sweetheart. What if I'm like Mom? What if I choose wrong things over my baby? What if I—" "Emma," I squeezed her hand. "You're already not like your mother. You're here. You asked for help. You're facing this scared but facing it. That's courage. That's what makes you a good mother." Another contraction. Emma gasped, gripped my hand hard enough to hurt. The monitor beeped, spiked. The baby's heart beat steady and strong. "You're doing great," Annie said. "Breathe, just like we practiced." The ultrasound photos Emma had been carrying for months were on the bedside table. 4 thermal images. 28 weeks. Now those fuzzy pictures were about to become a real baby. A real granddaughter. "Promise me, Dad." Emma was crying between contractions. "Promise me Lily grows up knowing truth matters, that we don't lie to protect our image, that integrity means more than comfort. I promise. No pretty lies, no pretending, just truth, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." My mother arrived 20 minutes later, breathless. She'd driven from her house, brought coffee and granola bars, and her calmness. "How are we doing?" 8 centimeters, Michael said. "Moving fast now." Emma looked at me. "Is Mom coming?" I'd texted Helen when Emma called, told her Emma was in labor. Helen had responded, "Tell her I'm thinking of her. Not, I'm coming, not, I'll be there. Just thinking of her." "No, honey, she's not coming." Emma nodded. Something flickered across her face. Pain, relief, acceptance. "I don't need her," Emma said. "I have you, and Grandma, and Annie. I have the people who show up." 3 hours later, at 5:51 a.m., Emma was at 10 centimeters, ready to push. Michael positioned himself. My mother held one of Emma's legs. I held the other. Annie was at Emma's head, coaching her breathing. "On the next contraction, Emma, I need you to push. Big push. Ready?" Emma gripped my hand, gripped Annie's hand, bore down, pushed. "Good. I can see the head. Dark hair. One more push like that." Another contraction. Another push. Emma was screaming now, primal, powerful. "Heads out. One more, Emma. One more big push for the shoulders." Emma pushed, gasped, pushed harder, and then a cry, small, indignant, perfect. "It's a girl!" Michael lifted the baby, tiny, red, screaming. Lily Grace Whitmore, born April 18th at 5:54 a.m., 7 pounds, 3 ounces. They placed her on Emma's chest, skin to skin. Emma was sobbing, laughing, exhausted. "She's perfect, Dad, she's perfect." I cut the umbilical cord. My hands were shaking. The baby, Lily, was crying. That newborn cry, the sound I'd heard 600 times in my career. But never like this. Never my granddaughter. "You did it, sweetheart," I said to Emma, voice thick. "You did it." Emma looked at her daughter. Red-faced, eyes squeezed shut, fists clenched. "Your grandpa saved us, Lily," Emma whispered. "When everything was falling apart, he chose truth over lies, chose hard, right over easy wrong." She looked at me. "That's the kind of person you want to be, baby girl. That's integrity." I was crying. My mother was crying. Annie was crying. Even Michael looked misty. The ultrasound prophecy fulfilled. 4 fuzzy thermal images had become this perfect, squalling, real human. Emma and I redefined what family means that day. Not who you're born to, but who shows up when it matters. Who tells you the truth even when lies are easier. If you've built your own chosen family, whether it's friends who became siblings, or mentors who became parents, or a community that held you together when blood relatives failed you, tell me about them in the comments. And if this story moved you, if you stayed with me for an hour watching truth win over lies, subscribe. I tell stories about choosing integrity when it costs everything, about choosing your children over your image. I'll see you in the next one. The hospital kept Emma and Lily for 2 days. Routine observation. Everything was perfect. Healthy baby. Healthy mother. The town threw a baby shower at the church 2 weeks later. Over 100 people came, brought gifts, diapers, clothes, a handmade quilt from the quilting circle, a college fund donation from the Rotary Club. For Lily Grace, the card read, "Welcome to Millbrook. We take care of our own." Mrs. Patterson held Lily and cried, "I remember when your daddy delivered you, Emma, and now here's your baby, the circle of life." 18 months later, spring morning. May. The maple trees on Main Street were that brilliant early green, the kind of green that makes you believe in new beginnings. I walked from my house toward the hospital, same route I'd walked for 25 years, but different now, lighter somehow. "Morning, Doc Tom," Mrs. Patterson waved from the bakery window. 84 now, still sharp, still baking. "Morning, May." The younger Hendersons were loading their twins into a car seat. They waved. "How's Lily?" "Growing like a weed. Emma brings her by the hospital twice a week." It was true. Emma worked from home now, consulting for public health organizations, remote work, flexible schedule. She'd bring Lily to visit, 18 months old, walking, talking, calling me Bappa. I'd reduce my hours at the hospital, step back from medical director to regular physician, 40 hours a week instead of 70. Time for Emma, time for Lily, time for myself. Time for Sarah, Sarah Fletcher, Betty Lou's younger sister, 50 years old, widow. She'd moved to Millbrook a year ago to be closer to Betty Lou. We'd met at a hospital fundraiser, started talking, then coffee, then dinners. She was waiting at my house when I got home from the hospital that evening, sitting on the porch with Emma and Lily. They were reading a board book. Lily was pointing at pictures and naming animals. "Bappa!" Lily saw me, ran on wobbly toddler legs. I caught her, lifted her up. "Hey, Lily Grace, what are you reading?" "Moo Cow." "That's right, Moo Cow." Sarah smiled at me. Warm, easy, no pressure, no expectations. Just comfortable presence. We'd been dating, if you could call it that, at 51, for 6 months, slow, careful, neither of us rushing, both of us scarred from previous marriages. But it was real, built on truth, on showing up, on choosing each other daily. My mother arrived with dinner, lasagna. She'd been cooking for us twice a week since Lily was born, said it was her grandma duty. Really, it was her way of making sure we were eating properly and staying connected. "Thomas," she said, kissed my cheek. "You look happy." "I am." "Your father would be proud." We ate on the porch. Emma, Lily, Sarah, my mother, the chosen family. Not the one I'd expected at 51, but the one I'd built through crisis and truth and hard choices. Later, after dinner, after Lily was asleep in Emma's arms, I showed Sarah something, the medical oath certificate, the one that had hung in my home office for 25 years. "I moved it," I said, "to the hospital, my office there." "Why?" "Because first do no harm isn't a private principle anymore. It's public. It's how I live, how I practice, how I love." I looked at the empty wall where the certificate had hung. The truth will set you free. I spent decades preaching that without understanding what it cost. Truth demands everything, demands you give up comfort and image and easy lies. Sarah took my hand. "But you're free now." "I'm free now?" Through the window, I could see Emma rocking Lily, singing softly. The baby shower quilt wrapped around them both. The town's gift. The community's promise. We take care of our own. In a small town, everyone knows everything eventually. I'd thought that was a threat, a warning, a reason to hide. But I'd been wrong. In a small town, everyone knows everything eventually. And when you choose truth over image, when you choose integrity over comfort, they know that too. The next morning, I walked to the hospital. Same route, same maple trees. But the greetings were different now. Not poor Doc Tom, just Doc Tom. "Morning, Doc Tom." "Doc, how's that grandbaby?" "Tom, good to see you." Respect, earned through truth, through choosing hard right over easy wrong, through applying the oath I'd taken 27 years ago, not just to patients, but to my own life. First, do no harm. To others, to myself, to my daughter, to my granddaughter, to the truth itself. I walked into the hospital. My office was on the second floor now, smaller, quieter. The medical oath certificate hung on the wall where everyone could see it. Betty Lou poked her head in. "Morning, ready for morning rounds?" Ready? Sarah coming for lunch later? She is. Betty Lou grinned. Good. She's good for you, Tom. Honest, real, not afraid of your baggage. We all have baggage at 50. True, but not everyone knows how to unpack it properly. We walked the halls together, checked on patients, reviewed charts, the work I'd done for a quarter century, but lighter now, not carrying the weight of secrets and lies and pretending, just doing the work, helping people. First, do no harm. At lunch, Sarah brought sandwiches. We ate in my office. She told me about her day. She worked at the library teaching digital literacy to seniors. Mrs. Patterson learned how to video call her grandson in California, Sarah said. She cried when she saw his face on the screen. That's beautiful. It is. She squeezed my hand. Small towns, everyone connected, everyone knowing everyone else's business. It's intrusive sometimes, but it's community, real community. In a small town, everyone knows, I said. I used to think that was the worst thing. Now I think it might be the best thing. Because you chose to let them know the truth? Because I stopped being afraid of the truth, stopped protecting the image. Just lived honestly, and people respected that. Sarah leaned over, kissed me, soft, sweet, comfortable. I respect that, she said. That evening, Emma brought Lily by the hospital before closing. Lily was walking better now. She toddled into my office and climbed into my lap. Bappa read. I pulled out the children's book I kept in my desk drawer, Green Eggs and Ham. We read it together, Lily pointing at pictures, saying words she recognized. Emma watched from the doorway, 26 years old now, strong, capable, a wonderful mother. You okay, Dad? I'm better than okay, sweetheart. Mom called me yesterday. I looked up. How is she? Teaching at a private school in Burlington, living with Aunt Caroline. She asked if she could see Lily sometime. What did you say? I said maybe, when I'm ready, when Lily's older. Emma sat down. I'm not angry anymore, just sad. Sad for what could have been, but grateful for what is. That's healing, I said. It's truth, Emma corrected. You taught me that. Truth is hard, but it's the foundation everything else is built on, and I want Lily's foundation to be solid. Lily patted my face. Bappa? Yes, Lily Grace. Love you. I love you too, baby girl. Outside my office window, the sun was setting, painting the mountains gold and pink. The Millbrook town green was visible from here. People walking, kids playing. The library where Sarah worked. The church where Pastor David had read my letter. The bakery where Mrs. Patterson made bread every morning. The community that had held us. Even when we broke. Especially when we broke. My medical oath certificate hung on the wall. Cream parchment, dark wood frame. First, do no harm, in English and Latin. I'd finally learned what it meant. Not just, don't hurt patients, but don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt your family. Don't enable lies. Don't sacrifice truth for comfort. Do no harm. Even when the truth destroys everything you thought you knew. Especially then. Because sometimes destruction is the first step toward healing. Toward building something real, something true, something solid enough to last. I held my granddaughter, my daughter beside me. The woman I was learning to love again, differently, carefully, honestly, coming to meet us for dinner. The chosen family, the real family, built on truth. And for the first time in 27 years, since I'd taken that oath as a young doctor fresh from medical school, I understood what it meant to do no harm. It meant choosing truth, every time, no matter the cost. Because lies harm everyone they touch. But truth, painful, difficult, expensive truth heals, even when it takes everything, especially then.